We all ready? All right, everybody. I see a lot of people like getting up, so we'll go ahead and start. Um, I want to say thank you to everybody who has put this together and who has made the effort to piece this together. I want to say a big thank you to Brother Noah and Sister Chloe. Can we give them a hand? And also to Sister Brizuela for setting things up. She's a big help to the team. And it's so good to have Brother and Sister Gallardo with us. And I just want to say how much I'm thankful for each and everybody that's here in this room. Everybody here has contributed to the media team, and you are a big help, and you are a big piece to the media team. At this time, before we get started into this lesson, this program, let's just go ahead and take a couple minutes and let's just pray. Let's just really push, because I really feel like in this, we can learn a lot of things, but we definitely want the Spirit to move. We don't want it to just be a lesson, but we really want God's Spirit to move, because this here, it's going to bring forth revival. In Jesus' name. God, we love you, Lord. We thank you, Jesus. God, I thank you for each and every person, God, that's here in this room, Jesus. Thank you for an opportunity, God, to learn, God. Thank you, Jesus, for another day, God. I pray, Jesus, that you would touch each and every one of us here today, God. God, we need your help, God. We need your Spirit. God, it's not by talent. It's not by power. It's not by our strength, but God, it's, Lord, it's your Spirit, Jesus. God, I pray, Lord, thank you, God, for the abilities, God, that you have given us. God, with men, there's impossibilities, but we know that, God, with you, all things are possible, Jesus. God, I pray, touch our minds, God. I pray, touch our hearts, God. Let our minds be in the right place, God. Let our hearts be in the right place, Jesus. God, I thank you for each and every person, God. I pray, touch those that were unable to make it. But God, I pray, Jesus, this recording, God, would minister to them. God, minister to us, Jesus. We want to minister, God, to this city, Jesus. God, I pray for San Diego, God. I pray for Chula Vista, God. Move throughout our city, God. I pray, move, Jesus, within our media, God. Move through each and every video, God. Move through each and every photo, God. God, I pray, let it not just be, God, just the colors, but God, I pray, let it minister to somebody, God. Let it minister to somebody on social media, God. I pray, Jesus, let there be breakthrough, God. Let there be breakthrough. God, I pray, anoint Brother Noah, God, to teach, Lord. I pray, anoint Sister Chloe to teach, God. I pray, Jesus, let us not just do this just because, but God, I pray, help us, Lord. God, that we may minister, God, to broken hearts, to broken families, God. I pray, Jesus, bless this lesson, God. I pray, bless our hearts, God. Help us, God, to leave with something, Jesus, rooted in our hearts, God. And we give you all of the praise. Would you clap your hands unto him? God, we thank you, Lord, for what you're doing, God. Thank you for what you're doing, Jesus. Man, really believing that in this group, God has already done something special within the media team, and it came from each and every person here in this room. I want to just tell each and every person here in this room that what you're doing is effective. It's not just doing it just because, but you're effective. Camila, you're needed. Everybody here in this room, you're needed. So I want to just say to each and every person, thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, and thank you for everything that you do, because it just helps all of us. So we're one team, we're one body. Nobody's bigger than the other person, but we're all as one team, one mind. We're pushing this thing forward. I'm gonna give this off to Brother Noah because I feel like I've been talking too much. All right, Brother Noah.
All right, welcome to our very first workshop for the media department. Today will be all about how to work a camera. So our main focus will be to understand the functions of these cameras. What we have here at the church and what myself and Chloe have are Sony A7 III. You could write that down if you want. At some point, you're going to want to get your own and learn this outside of church, because this is really helpful for today's job economy, because people are always looking for ways to market themselves, especially with cameras. And I do want to begin by saying what the camera is meant to do and what we're supposed to use the camera for. See, our gear is a tool. It's meant to express what you normally can't with words. You have to learn your gear. You have to understand how it works to optimize its potential for what you want to do. Has anybody used a camera before? Has anyone heard of what a DSLR is, or a mirrorless camera? So these are types of real cameras, not the ones you use on your phone. These are very easy to use, but you can't learn much from this. This has a steeper learning curve, but it's a lot better in terms of manually getting what you want, because you could tell if a video is filmed on an iPhone. You could tell if it's filmed very quickly. You could tell if it's not that high quality. So the camera is meant to help you tell your story, or tell a story specifically, through visuals. Photography deals a lot with single frame. They call them snapshots. And then video adds onto that with audio. Has anyone seen, I'm sure y'all have, but y'all have seen reels of various different church clips and even non-church clips of like equipment people use or advertisements telling stories. It's all about telling a story. I mentioned at the beginning of this, you want to get your own at some point. You're not always going to have my gear to use. You're not always going to have the church's gear to use. It's there as backup. But there's something about wanting to own your gear. There's always something about wanting to learn more about it. And when you own it, you will take it upon yourself to learn it. I actually have a Bible for y'all for this. For context, in 1 Samuel 17, this is when the Philistines were at war against the kingdom of Israel. And Saul was appointed king at that point. And at this point, the Philistines sent a giant named Goliath. We all know the story. The Israelites were afraid because he was much bigger than them and taller than them. At this point, David was a shepherd. He was not appointed to be part of the war. He was not appointed to be in the army of Israel. But David had something in him that wanted to do more. More for God, more for Israel, and pushing forward the kingdom. At this point, he waddled over from his shepherd land, and he decided to confront Goliath. At this point, everyone was basically telling him, there's this giant. Whoa, huge. The Bible says in verse 38, and Saul armed David with his armor and put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. verse 40 says, "And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had even in a script. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine." To save time, I won't read the rest of it. But the word "proved" in Hebrew, it really means to test or try something through close examination. In this context, David had not proved Saul's armor. And let's think about this for a little bit. Saul's armor, he was the king. He probably had the best armor in all the kingdom because it protected him. And he used his sword, which was probably the best at slaying the Philistines, but it did not fit David. Again, my point is you want to get to the point where you invest in your own gear and learn your gear, own your gear. So today, we'll learn camera basics. We'll learn the fundamentals of handling a camera. So the first thing I do want to go over, have you seen what this grid is? Do you know what this is? Anybody? I have all your names, so if nobody volunteers, I will pick somebody. Sister Adar, I heard that first. Rule of thirds?
It's like a grid so you can make sure that your focus is centered.
Good, yeah. So the definition of this is my definition. It's typically a 3x3 grid, 1, 2, 3, 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines that aids the photographer/videographer to create a more engaging and dynamic photo/video by placing the subject onto an intersection. So for example, let's use this one. You would want the subject in any of these corners if you're using this format. That way, everything else in that photo is a little bit symmetrical or more even, so to speak. And you could use it in vertical mode as well. That will just help you. This is an alternative that I like to use aside from centering. So the alternative to this would be centering somebody right in the middle of the screen. So my challenge to you is before each service you are scheduled, be familiar with your camera's functions, be aware of your surroundings. Always be searching for moments to capture. You're not always, let me rephrase it. You're not going to be able to worship the same way everyone else does because you're tasked to capture a story, somebody's story, the story of whatever the preacher is about to preach for that service. You have to be aware. And your work in this case is your worship. So you have to be aware of your surroundings, who's in the altar, who's on the platform, who's doing what on the platform, what are they saying on the platform, what are the preachers doing, are they praying for somebody, are people running the aisles, are the musicians having fun playing, are the singers worshiping while they sing, things like that. So you have to always be aware. You have to always look. What I like to do is, it's kind of like a photographer's instinct. You have to find the right angle and find the right people, I guess, to capture with your camera. You have to find, okay, what can I do right now that would capture what's going on in the moment? So, and there will always be variable factors. There's never going to be a moment, especially in church, where you're going to have the same settings, you're going to have the same angles, you're going to have the same people doing the same stuff. You're going to need to account for many different things. So you have to learn how to adjust this in order to account for those factors. And we'll get to those in a moment. But right now, I would like to call Sister Chloe. Yes, I do. Alrighty.
There you go. Hello, guys. So, let me. Sorry, low key. I'm trying to figure out how to work this. Sorry, guys. Hold on a minute. Huh? Okay. Yeah. So, church photography. Why it's important? Because this is the first impression. Obviously, we know people don't go to churches like they used to. They don't just show up at your doors with zero understanding of what's going on, because people want to be familiar with a setting before they even go in. So they want to know, what am I going to expect? How are people dressed? What are people doing in church? And so this makes them comfortable with the atmosphere, which is why it's important for us to have a good first impression. And it reflects the mission and values of the church. So it says, this is a home. What are people looking for in a church? They're looking for a home. We want to showcase that. We want to showcase diversity. We want to showcase a place that you can go to and you know you're going to be welcomed with a smile. This is what we want to show, that our people are friendly, that you're going to be touched, you're going to be impacted. Because when people see a photo and there's people praying for you, what they can infer from that is there's going to be people that are going to pray for me too. If I need help, there are people that are going to help me. And a picture is worth 1,000 words, or 10,000, 100,000. It tells so much, and it creates a connection with the audience. When you see a picture of somebody getting baptized, you can see the joy on their face. You can see the transformation in their face. That creates a connection. And that's what we want to create. It's connections with people. They're more than just photos, they're clicks, views. These are so important. And 3 components for when you're going to take a successful photo. It's the exposure triangle, composed of your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO, which is the first thing you have to do, is make sure that you have a balanced photo, so your lighting is good. Sometimes it's a little difficult with our zoom, because cameras pick up way darker than our eyes do. And so sometimes it's going to be very dark, and sometimes it's going to be very bright. And that's why it's important to know your way around the church and to understand what the lighting is like in the altar and what the lighting is like in the back of the church. But you do have to make sure that your settings are as balanced as they can be. And it helps on the zoom. Have you guys seen the zebra lines? So if you have zebra lines, that means overexposed. If you can't see anything because it's just zebra, you got to crank that down. You got to change something. And then, as Noah was talking about, the rule of thirds. Now, in certain types of photography, you can place people at different points. You can place somebody up here, and that's a great photo. Typically, for what we do, we always want to have them centered, and you always want to have their eyes pretty much right up here, because that ensures that you have a balanced amount of space around them. So if their head is right here, you don't have 10 feet of space above them, and they're not cropped off to the side. So we want to make sure that they're as centered as possible. And sometimes you do have to take a couple extra seconds. And I know church feels very fast-paced, because it is fast-paced, but you would rather take the time to adjust yourself and adjust your camera, because it's a lot better to have a balanced photo than to just have 5 photos that are cropped weirdly, and then we can't really do anything with them. And then last is the storytelling component, which is, what are we trying to convey with this photo? Is it a sense of community? Is it prayer? Is it joy? We have to be cognizant of the kind of environment that we're in, right? Because we're not only shooting church services, right? We have the Memorial Day picnic coming up. We have so many events that take place throughout the year. And so you have to understand what kind of photos am I getting based on the environment? So that's the storytelling component. And that's when I first started. That's about 6-ish months later. It took me a long time, you guys. I started from absolute scratch. We didn't really have a preset for church photos. We didn't have an established look, established colors. And so working with very little, it's hard. And so it's great now because I can set you guys up and we can set you guys up to start a lot closer to this than that. And so here are action shots. There's a lot of nuance to these, but I typically would advise you to not shoot random people just jumping. 9 out of 10 times you're not going to get a great picture, right? Because their limbs are moving weird and sometimes they're on one leg, and this is the kind of action shot you want. Somebody running. Or we posted a photo a couple weeks ago. I took a picture of Brother Howerton waving his tie around. That's an action shot. This doesn't really say much. People's faces are weird, they're blinking, their hair is all over the place. And so when church is really going, especially on a Sunday night, you want to look for very specific shots to take. You don't just want to take random pictures of people jumping around, because there's not much that we can do with that, as you can see. Another thing, if Brother Fairley is song leading and things are getting good, we know what's going to happen, right? We know he's about to take off. That is your sign to run to the opposite side of the church and start taking those pictures. So you have to be very aware of who's song leading and how are they directing the congregation. So if the song is singing, run the aisles, everybody run, people are going to run the aisles, right? That's your sign. I need to go over there. I need to get a good angle of that. And when people are running, especially, we're not taking one picture. We're taking 30. As many as possible, because one click can be the difference between whether somebody's one eye is closed or open. So when you're taking action shots of people running, just spam that shutter button. That's what you want to do. People running, people throwing their ties around, random people doing this, no. There's not much going on there. The composition here. Why is this not a very good photo? Anybody, anything. There's a lot of reasons why it's not, but Sabrina.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Is there too much headspace?
That's one. Too much headspace. And Camila, do you have anything else?
You can't see anybody around their faces.
There's no faces. There's no faces. With church photography, pretty much our main thing is we're capturing people's faces. Because if you can't see their face, there's kind of no story to tell. If you're just shooting somebody's back, I'm just looking at a picture of somebody's back. There's nothing to it. And so, again, there's just too many hands going on. There's no faces in view. It's too zoomed in. I think there's too much headspace here. And I took all of these. So we're criticizing me here. What I could have done here would be better. I could have gone to either side and shot from a side angle. And that would have made this a lot better. Maybe if I wasn't able to see her face, at least the people praying for her. But you have at least one face when you're taking pictures of people praying. Now in this one, I'm really oddly zoomed in here. It's just a weird photo. I don't have a lot of science to back that one up, other than it's just kind of a weird photo. You're way too close in, and you can kind of see her face, but when you're taking pictures of people hugging, you want to get at least one full face, I would say. Sometimes it's different when you're greeting, when you're shooting pictures of people greeting, but when you're taking pictures of people hugging, sometimes it's better to get one face instead of trying to get both and then not really getting either. And then that last picture, which is an actual good picture, you can't see much of her face. You can see that there's a crowd around her praying for her. And so in that picture, we're showcasing community, right? If you go down to the front, people are going to pray for you. That's what we're showcasing there. And so she's centered. There's enough. I probably could have taken it a little more back to get space around the sides. but since our altars are pretty crowded, you just never know. Sometimes you need to crop people out, and it's going to be a little more narrow than we like, but it's still a good photo otherwise. And then these are our baptism angles. Again, there's so much nuance to how we take photos, because sometimes there's going to be one person with you when you're up there, and sometimes there's going to be 10 people when you're up there. So it's going to be a little difficult, but for me, it's going to look really awkward, and I'm going to show you guys. I literally like get down to the floor and take the photo. This is more of a bird's eye view, right? It just kind of feels like you're up in the sky looking down at people getting baptized, which is not typically what we want. We want it to be more like a window. This is a lot more like you're right here. If you're looking at this picture, you're right here. If you're looking at that picture, you're up in Narnia, you know? So we want to be really up close and personal with baptisms, and you're probably gonna have to get really uncomfortable, really crushed. Sometimes I do ask whoever's there to step off to the right side, especially, I didn't edit this out, so you guys can criticize me for that, because I'm very nitpicky about cutting things out, but I forgot to do it here. If you place people here, they'll cover up the armrest, and then you don't have to edit that out. So I typically take the left side whenever you can. And then, yeah, you want to get really down low with that, but this is a story. This creates a connection with you. She's actually not actively getting baptized here, and you can tell that there's people around her. So it's a hard photo sometimes. Sometimes it's not perfect. I've posted some baptism photos where there's just things in the background, and sometimes you can't avoid that, but you want to set yourself up to get the best photo possible. So remember, for baptisms, we're not doing bird's eye view, we're doing like down and close. Close enough to where neither of them are cut out too. Let's see, crowds. There's a very specific way to shoot crowds, because if you guys have ever worked with me and we've done photos, I tell you crowds are such a great thing to take pictures of if you can do it right. Most times I would rather it be like an altar crowd. We don't take pictures during altar call, but more of a people praying crowd versus a people jumping around doing random things crowd, right? Because here, at least in this photo, you can see she's getting prayed over. There's however many people around here in the back. This is a crowded church, right? There's just random faces going on, right? And that's the effect you get during like those really shouty services. It's just people making random faces. And so it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing. I hate to say it, but it is. This is a lot nicer than like, you know what I mean? People making weird faces. Again, with that too, there's just not much going on. So if you're gonna take pictures of a crowd, which I would recommend you do it from far back, not right in the middle, either far right, far left, but I would rather it be during a prayer moment, because everybody's still, and when people are still, that's the right moment to take a photo. Now, the checklist. I know if you're using the fixed, this is pretty much already gonna be done for you. If you're using the zoom, that's when you have to be very meticulous, because we use that for video. So you really have to go through this checklist, otherwise your photos are not gonna be photo ready. And it can be hard to reverse in-camera effects. We wanna make photos as good as we can in camera, so then we're not breaking our heads in post trying to fix it. And so we'll go over this and over the actual cameras, but make sure it's on manual mode, especially for the zoom, because sometimes it's on video. So it's the M, the letter M, always make sure it's on M. Your shutter speed is 250. The lowest I would ever go is 200, and that's if you're taking really still shots and you need the lighting. But 250 is like our standard. That's the minimum, because anything less and you're gonna have really bad blur. And our aperture, for my camera, it's 1.8, and for the zoom, it's 2.8. These are just numbers for reference, but it's really the lowest you can go. So if you ever forget how low your aperture should be, all the way low. Because the lower the number, the bigger the opening in the camera and the more light that it lets in. So always make sure that your aperture is the lowest it can possibly go. And then our ISO, I don't have a number for that because that's the constant variable that's changing. You are always changing your ISO. You should never go through a whole service on 1,000 because it's different for everywhere. It's different in front of the doors where you're greeting. It's different on the platform. It's different in the back of the church, in the altar. That's the only thing that you are changing throughout the entire service. If you change the shutter speed, if you change the aperture, you have to change everything else because one affects the other. So I would only really touch your ISO most of the times. For general reference, if I'm shooting directly on the platform, I'll be maybe around 600. If I'm shooting greeting, I'll maybe do around 200. If I'm shooting the congregation, maybe 1,000. But it really all depends. This is from my experience, but this is something that you do have to figure out for yourself. What lighting is going to make this photo balanced? Your picture profile is off. Sometimes I think we use PP7 or yeah. And so if you use that, all your photos are going to be gray and desaturated, and it's going to be a pain. So make sure that that's off. And then continuous shooting style. Yes.
Picture profile, what is that? I've never heard of it.
So, Noah?
Like SLR? It's like a preset setting.
It's for video.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so for video, you can make the colors in camera be super desaturated gray, and that way when you apply a preset onto them, you have nice colors. But it does not work like that for photo. So if you make your photos gray and desaturated, it's gonna be pretty hard. So make sure that that's off. And then continuous shooting style. I think when you do video, you switch it to single. I think. Could be both. But if it's single shooting, that means it's just gonna take one picture. Even if you keep holding the shutter button, it's taking one picture. And we know more than anything, when you're taking pictures, you never wanna take one photo. You never wanna take one photo. So make sure that continuous shooting style is on continuous. That way you can get 8 pictures at a time if you need to. And then our white balance is on auto because it adjusts very quickly. If you have it on daylight, fluorescent, nighttime, it's gonna be hard to work with. So auto white balance just makes it towards if the platform's purple, your camera's gonna turn it white. That's basically what it does. If this area is very green, it's gonna turn it white. And so that's the best way to get, I guess, the most natural looking photos for us to edit then afterwards. And then our shot list. This is very general, this is very broad, because when we actually shoot a service, we're gonna go a lot more in depth with it. But door greetings, that's pretty standard, but we do have to make sure that you're leaving enough space and you're not too close when you're doing door greetings. Special prayers. Sometimes I stay after greeting, even when service starts. People come in late and sometimes you get good photos. But as soon as you hear somebody go, if you need special prayer, come to the front, that's your cue. You need to get in there. Because since we don't really shoot altar call too much, there's not many of those like prayerful moments we can get. That's like one of the few times that we can actually get pictures of pastor praying for somebody. And so that we cannot miss that. That's an integral part of the service. Sometimes nobody goes down, and that's a different story. But if you notice that people are going down, that's your cue. Like, you need to be in there. And multiple angles sometimes too. If I'm shooting here and there's people right in front of me, things don't really work out, I'm not just gonna leave my pictures like that. I'm going around to the other side because sometimes that makes the difference. So especially if there's not too much going on, sometimes it's better to just go and take the other angle, see what it would look like. Sometimes it's better and we didn't think it would be better. Meet and greet. This is only the first Sunday of every month, I believe, right? It's the first Sunday morning. Do we still have those?
We haven't done it in a while, but yeah, the prayer has kind of replaced the meet and
Okay, well, if let's say on the occasion that, sometimes pastors like, hey, everybody greet each other out of nowhere. So that you need to zigzag around the entire church, right? Because that's when you're going to get really good photos inside the sanctuary of community, of people hugging each other, happy to see each other. So on the occasion that somebody does say, like, turn to your neighbor, give them a hug, say hi to each other, that's a very good moment for us to capture. Song service. I have a general rule, and that's when the songs start, you're not the first person in the altar, because you look like you're lurking, waiting for your victims to come up to you. And that's not what we want. We don't want people to be intimidated because I'm here and Noah's here and Camila's here and everybody's here. If there's like 6 people out in the front with cameras, I'm not going down there because I feel awkward. Now I feel like I'm getting posed for a photo that I didn't ask for. And so we want to make it as unnoticeable and as inconspicuous as possible. So once there's already people down in the front, then you can go. And if service is really getting good, then you can go. But you really don't want to be the first one down there. Let's see. I think our slow songs are the best for pictures because that's when you get the really nice pictures of people's hands in the air. You just have to know what kind of shots you're going to get, which is what we'll work on with our shot list because these are going to be tailored to every service. Preaching, another thing. We don't take pictures of other people in the pulpit that are not preaching. So Joe's great, Mark's great, love them, but they're not preaching. So like there's kind of no point in taking a picture there. If pastor's preaching, then we can post, oh, pastor preached an incredible word this morning. If our evangelist is preaching, evangelist Ben Rodriguez brought the house down this morning, blah, 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 blah. If we just have like some random picture of Brother Obando up there, that's not really doing much for us because he's not preaching. He's just taking up an offering, So we have to make sure that if we're taking pictures of people in the pulpit, that they are the preacher for that service. And then fellowship. I like to do this when service is done and people are out in the foyer congregating. Don't spend 30 minutes there because keep in mind that we do have to edit afterwards and that is time consuming. But if you can spend like 5 minutes after service is immediately done in the foyer, inside the sanctuary, you will get some amazing pictures of people congregating. Next, our key takeaways is take creative angles. We do not want to take 50 pictures of Sister Evans doing sign language. If you notice, I'm kind of taking the same pictures as I always take. Another angle. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not. But you do have to look at it with the lens of creativity, of innovation, of I want to do something different. I want to come up with something that someone hasn't done before. Take sick pictures, not one. Because again, people's eyes are closed, their hands are in the way. And so if you're, especially for door greeting, if somebody's coming in, you take one picture, like there's a good chance that it's not going to be a good picture because their hands are going to be in the way, their eyes are going to be closed. So as soon as you see somebody coming through those doors for greeting, boom, 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 10 pictures right there. It's going to be a pain to edit and go through, but we're going to get the good photo. So make sure that if you're seeing a good moment, you're not just click and then you just walk away and we just have to pray to God that it works because that's not what we're doing. So make sure you're taking enough pictures to get the right one. Shoot eye level. There's rare moments where you want to be like this, especially when you're shooting a worship leader on the platform. And the platform is my biggest rule. You will always shoot at least eye level on the platform. And we're going to go into sanctuary and I'll show you what it looks like when you take different angles. But if the platform's, I don't know, up here, and my camera is right here, we're making whoever's singing look 10 feet tall. There's not enough space. It's a really distorted angle. And so especially for worship leaders, we want to make sure we're very, at least eye level. I go a little bit higher, but that way we can look like we're on the same ground. Don't hesitate. This is something that comes with time, and it comes as you build confidence over time. But it's important to remember that if you hesitate, you're missing. you're missing moments. And so even if it doesn't look to you like, oh, I don't think this is really going to be a good moment, sometimes it's better to just take it. Now, you use your own discretion and your own judgment. If you're like, I can't see anybody's faces, I don't think this is a good photo, obviously don't take it. But if you see that a moment's about to happen and you're hesitating, you're missing things. So you have to make sure that you're on it. And that also comes with like eliminating distractions. If you're in the front and it's door greeting time, people love to come up to you and say hi to you, which is great. But you don't want to get lost in conversation with 4 other people here. You're just doodling with your camera, and there's already 20 people that's walked into the church smiling, and we didn't get that. So we have to make sure that we're eliminating distractions, and when we eliminate distractions, that makes it a lot easier for us to be focused and say, I'm going to get this. We don't have time to hesitate. Let's just put it that way. We have like a 2-hour time frame. We have like a 30-minute worship service, and that's very little time. So if you hesitate, we're missing a lot. And then my last is rotate. We are not hugging the corner where the ministers sit for 45 minutes. We need to be around. If you're not comfortable going in between the aisles, that's okay. If you're like, people are looking at me, I get that way too. At least go to the other side. Or I go to where the singers go in, and sometimes I take shots there. But you do have to rotate, because if you don't, you're not getting a lot of pictures. I mean, there's the same 3 people are there. They're not going anywhere. You've already taken pictures of those people. That's it. We can't sit there for forever. We have to make sure that we're rotating plenty. If an angle's not working out, people are blocking you, you move the other side. So it's the best way to ensure that you're going to get the best photos is to rotate. We want a variety of pictures, right? Because if everybody stays in one side of the church and we post 6 pictures, those 6 pictures, same side of the church. That's it. We want from here, from here, from here. We want around the entire campus as much as possible. Let me see. Last but not least, which is not related to this, but don't forget to format the card, because when we are uploading photos, we can just press select all and we'll put them in. But if I have my photos from Sunday morning and then I have Noah or JT's videos from 2 weeks ago, then I have to go in and I have to manually click every single photo to select them into the folders. So it's very important to format your card so it just smooths the process a lot faster. And then when service is done, to get in the media room pretty much as fast as we can, because it does take a long time, and especially I know sometimes your parents are like, we have to go home and there's things going on. So we want to make this process as quick and efficient as we can. So like not lingering in the sanctuary for 30 minutes after service when you know we have to go edit. Let's see. Any questions on literally anything that I said? Yes.
Regarding preacher shots, are those going to be like still shots, or do you want people moving in the services, or do you just want somebody to be seated on either side of the
pretty much. Yeah, and that another thing with that too is with preacher shots, you don't want to take them from the right side of the church most of the time, because you have all the musicians, and then for preachers that are a little on the short side, it's not very pleasing if we put them right in front of the 6-foot tall pulpit, right? We make them look really small, and then we have our giant plants on the opposite side of the pulpit. And so if you're taking the right side, it's gonna be a lot harder. There's so much in the way. If you're gonna take preacher shots, my recommendation is from the left side. Sometimes it's good to do it when he's like, oh, everybody, let's stand. Then it feels a lot more comfortable to go up in the front and take some shots of him. But it's best for you to get them as he's moving out of the pulpit. Because like I said, for some preachers, all you can see is their face. If you just take the picture, if this is the pulpit, and I just take the picture right here, you see like this much neck, and then the rest they look like a floating head. Let's just put it that way. So we want to make sure that when we're placing them in photos, that they're away from the pulpit as best as we possibly can, so they don't look really short. And our pulpit is massive too. It just takes up so much, and we don't want that to be what you first see. We want the preacher to be what you first see. So my recommendation is to be on the left side and just capture a few still shots that way. If it's more comfortable for you, you can do it when everybody's standing. But you will have to get out of your seat and get out in front. Otherwise, there's going to be too much in the background where I'm sitting. If I'm in a pew, there's people next to me, in front of me, and then the preacher's head is this big in the photo because I'm far away. So we have to be really intentional about how we make our preachers look. And that goes back to another point, which is why we take a lot of pictures. Preachers make funny faces. They're yelling at us pretty much. And so you kind of, if somebody's, sometimes you don't want to sit there and just click the shutter for forever. Sometimes it's better when they're having a more, quiet moment, when they're not yelling, when they're explaining, right? So they're like this and like that and like this. That's a lot better for us. So be mindful of the faces that they're making in the moment, so we don't post that, because I can guarantee you that nobody wants their face to look all red and like eyes bulging and that sort of thing. Any other questions? Anything I can clarify? Are we good?
Are we still gonna do that?
Yes, after that. So this is pretty much done for this part. After lunch, then we're gonna go into the sanctuary across the campus. We're gonna figure out editing. We're gonna go over everything. But as for the taking pictures, this portion, we're good. We're done. So you guys are gonna do great. Slay.